I woke to Marco calling my name from right outside the tent. I unzipped the flap, and Marco was inside the sleeping bag next to me, eyes open and breathing calm. The voice outside kept calling. My name is Jake T. This happened the fall after I graduated, October of 2021. We drove down to Bisbee, Arizona, because Marco said the night skies were insane there, and Lisa wanted to try dispersed camping. We stopped at a 7-Eleven on the way and grabbed Slurpees, a Coleman lantern, and a cheap bag of marshmallows. We parked off Old Copper Road, just past the last mile marker where the pines thin out and the desert begins. It felt remote in a good way. No RVs, no crowds, just scrub and a wide open sky. Calm, steady. We set up 2 tents, unpacked our REI sleeping bags, and built a campfire. Marco strummed a pocket guitar badly. Lisa roasted a Slurpee cup full of marshmallows and complained about the sticky mess. We joked about ghost stories, about coyotes, about how ridiculous it was to camp with cell service that dipped to no service as soon as you walked 10 feet from the car. The Coleman lantern hummed nearby. The world felt small and safe. Fire, friends, sky. Around dusk, I walked to the car to grab more water. Near the tailgate, I found a small stone stacked in a neat cone, like cairns you see on hiking trails. That felt off. There was no reason for cairns that close to a campsite. I pointed it out, and we laughed it off. Someone could have been marking the spot for hikers. We left them alone. As night fell, the odd things started small. First, it was the sound of a twig snapping far off behind the ridge. Then, hours later, Lisa swore she heard a boot scrape gravel near the road and thought someone was turning around. We checked the lantern, called out hello, nothing. The radio in Marco's car picked up static that sounded almost like words for a second. We shrugged it off. The desert does strange things to sound. We all took turns staying awake. I remember listening to the fire, to the pinpricks of our small orbit of light, thinking about the sky. Then, sometime after 2 in the morning, something shifted. I woke to Marco nudging me. He whispered that he'd heard someone walking by the tents. We both put our heads out of the tent and scanned with the lantern. Nothing. No headlights, no silhouette, just the hush of the scrub and the occasional owl. That should have been enough to pack up and leave. We didn't. We were stubborn or reckless or just arrogant. We told ourselves it was an animal, a drunk passing by, kids playing, we went back to bed. Then came the voice. Quiet at first, like someone testing volume. It called my name once, soft and distant. Jake. It sounded exactly like Marco. I froze because Marco was in my sleeping bag beside me. I unzipped the flap and there he was, breathing, eyes half open, tapping his phone. He looked at me and said, "You okay?" I told him what I heard. He swore it wasn't him. We both tightened the zippers and sat in the dark, listening. The calls continued, spaced out and deliberate. Not every hour, more like every half hour, always one name. Always my name or Lisa's, never all at once. Each call sounded closer. At one point I crawled to the tent flap and cracked it open a sliver. There on the path in the circle of lantern light, someone had placed a single nail driven into the ground with a small scrap of cloth tied to it. That was new. Someone had walked our line and left a marker. By dawn, Lisa was pale and shaking. We agreed to pack up quietly and leave before anyone could approach again. We were barely into the sleeping bags when Marco's phone buzzed with a photo message. No contact listed. The image was small but clear. A photo of our campsite, taken from the trees, taken at 3 a.m. In the photo, you could see the glow of the Coleman lantern and the outline of our tents. Someone had been watching us the whole night. We piled into the car and drove toward Bisbee faster than we should have. At the gas station, Marco got out, hands shaking, and I went into the restroom. When I came back, he was standing by a bulletin board behind the cases of beef jerky, staring at a small strip of paper someone had scribbled and pinned there. It was a phone number and an address, not local, just a line of numbers. Below it, someone had written in messy block letters, "We watch quiet." We left without taking a Slurpee. That night, home in my apartment, I scrubbed the sleeping bag with bleach, every fiber, until it smelled of chemicals. I thought the worst was over. I was wrong. 2 nights later, my voicemail filled with one missed call from an unregistered number and a blank message, just breathing. I played it 3 times. On the 4th playback, under the breathing faint clear, was another voice whispering my name. Not Marco's, not Lisa's. Something else mimicking them like a broken recording. Police could do nothing. There was no camera angle on that stretch of old copper road, no tracks past the brush we'd seen at dawn. No one reported a camper nearby. The photo message, the number had been deactivated. The note pinned at the gas station vanished that day. The only evidence was a triptych of images still on Marco's phone, 3 frames that showed our tents at 2:47, 3:03, and 3:14 a.m. Between the 3:03 and 3:14 frames, something moved close, so close you could make out a pale shape leaning in the lantern light. We'll never agree on what that blur was. I stopped camping after that. Lisa moved to Tucson. Marco took a job that keeps him inside most of the year. I tell this now because sometimes when I'm up late and the house is quiet, I'll wake and think I hear a soft voice outside the window. My name, patient as breath. I check the door, then the car, then the trees. Nothing. Just the hum of the streetlight and the settled dust. And every so often my phone buzzes with a photo, no number, no caption, of a lantern in the dark taken from just beyond the circle of light. I'll never forget the sound of footsteps circling our tent that night. Slow, careful, deliberate. And the worst part, when I finally unzipped it and shined my flashlight into the trees, there were no footprints in the dirt at all. Just broken branches like someone or something had been standing there the whole time, watching. My name's Evan T. I live in Flagstaff, Arizona. This happened about 2 summers ago, during what was supposed to be just a simple weekend camping trip with my buddy Ryan. We picked a spot deep in the Coconino National Forest. It wasn't our first time camping out there. We had beer in the cooler, a little gas stove, even those giant marshmallows from Walmart. It felt like any normal getaway. The first day was fine. We hiked, swam in a creek, and set up camp before dark. Everything was quiet, just the wind in the trees and the occasional call of a night bird. But that night, while we were sitting by the fire, I thought I heard something. Twigs snapping, almost like someone pacing just beyond the tree line. Ryan laughed it off, said it was just deer. I tried to let it go. The second day, little things started to feel wrong. I woke up to find my backpack zipped open and half my stuff scattered a few feet away. I figured maybe I'd left it unzipped. But then Ryan swore he heard whispering near the creek when he went to wash up. Like actual words, too low to make out. By the second night, I couldn't shake the feeling we weren't alone. The woods felt heavier somehow. Every sound carried, but nothing looked out of place. We built up the fire high and tried to laugh it off. But sometime after midnight, we both froze when we heard it. Footsteps. Not fast, not animal-like, just walking, slow, circling. I whispered to Ryan to grab the flashlight. My heart was pounding so hard it hurt. We sat there, staring at the thin nylon walls of the tent, listening as the steps moved around us. Then they stopped, right outside. I finally unzipped the flap and shined the light. Nothing, just trees, but the brush was bent, branches broken, like someone had just stepped back into the shadows. We didn't sleep, not a second. At first light, we packed up. Neither of us spoke much. But just before we left, I noticed something near where the tent had been. A pile of small rocks stacked carefully into a shape. A circle with one rock placed right in the center. Neither of us had made it. We hiked out in silence. Haven't been back since. To this day, I don't know who was out there with us or what they wanted. But sometimes late at night, when the wind rattles outside my window, I swear I hear those same footsteps again. Slow, careful, waiting.